when Guillermo left, I mean, there was Warner Brothers had been funding all of the pre-production. MGM were in such trouble at that time that they couldn't participate particularly. And so what I recall is that there was a lot of money had been spent, and we still didn't have a green light. Do we go and find another director?
By the time that had happened, we'd written one draft with Guillermo and had already really fallen in love with the story. It would have been hard to have prized that away from us at that stage. In terms of Peter directing it, I think that it possibly wouldn't have been made if he hadn't agreed to direct it, because there were so many fraught entanglements with the rights and with the various the estate. There were many issues involved, and so they had to have a great deal of confidence that whoever directed it was going to deliver a movie that they were happy with. In terms of the script, we started again, which was a very peculiar and odd thing, to have written a script really for one director and then to completely peel it back and say, no, we're going to start again and we'll reimagine this.
It was a two thing. I felt a responsibility as a producer on the film, understanding that now with the director having gone, that the film was in jeopardy to some degree, and I wanted to make sure that we could make it. And also, as Fran says, having worked on it for that length of time, we were emotionally engaged with it.
There's a lot of action in The Hobbit, and at some point and we did this, it's like, do you do the eagles? Do you cut the goblins? Do you cut the stone giants? What do you lose from that book? And we had been getting a lot of letters and children who'd only come to the Lord of the Rings. They've sometimes never seen it on screen, and their letters are lovely. Most of them go, thank you very much for making the Lord of the Rings. When are you going to make the Hobbit? And so you had this feeling from kids that you wanted to find the right tone so that it could be a rollicking adventure, that you tumble out the door with those characters, that it has the humour that's in the book, that it's not the Lord of the Rings, redux or done again, that it's its own story, as Peter says, that you're just going back on location in Middle Earth.
The main thing we were able to do, which was fantastic for Andy, is that Martin and Andy were able to shoot the scene at the same time, and it was literally being shot at the same time. So we were on the set of the cave set. Martin was performing, there were cameras filming him, and there were 50 or 60 motion capture cameras that we had built into the rock work of the set, kind of around the rock walls of the set, that were recording Andy. So anything Andy did, anywhere he moved, was being captured. So he never had to do any post-production work on this film. His entire performance that you see was being done with Martin live. And also even though Gollum, we wanted Gollum to look the same, to have the continuity between the films, the last 10 years there's been incredible progress made with performance capture. So the muscles that we were able to put into the CG Gollum's face, very, very subtle muscles around the eyes, around the mouth, we were able to build a much more physically capable puppet, which allowed 100% of Andy's performance to be translated to the puppet very, very accurately. The technology exists now today to do interesting things with the experience of coming to the cinema, and that's happening at exactly the same time that young people especially don't seem to be as interested in going to the movies as we did when we were younger. And so I just think there's a responsibility that we have as an industry, as filmmakers, to look at the technology and say, how can we make this incredible, magical, mysterious experience of going into a cinema in the dark with a bunch of strangers, how can we make that more spectacular and more, not just spectacular, but just more immersive?
We grew up with these stories. We love them. We are fans. Fans made these films. Because we often ask, what do you think the fans are going to think? And my answer is, I think it's good. I'm a fan, and we try to do things respectfully. One of the things, but you have to make a film. You have to make a movie. And for example, there's not a lot of women in this, and you feel that weight, and thank God for Cate Blanchett. You feel the weight of that there. So we made that choice. As a filmmakers, we created a female character. We tried to do so, which you will see in the next film, played by Evangeline Lilly, called Tariel, and we tried to do that in the spirit of, what would he do? you know, what if he created a character, how would he do it? And I'm so glad, because when we were at Comic-Con, this girl who was a Lord of the Rings fan, she was incredibly nervous, and she stood up and she said, I just want to tell you thank you for doing that, because when I was a little girl and I read the story, I didn't know Gandalf. I made female characters, and I made Gandalf a woman, which was genius. And you think, oh, of course, that's what kids do. You know, they adapt, and that's what we tried to do.